This is Silver Spook, and this is the Silver Spook podcast. Very happy to be doing this one. Haven't talked to Dave for a while, but I'm a huge, very big fan of all the Wadjet Eye Games. Dave Gilbert is the lead kind of head of Wadjet Eye Games. Makes amazing adventure games and adjacent genre games like Old Skies is like you should immediately go buy that. Buy it 10 times for all the people that you know.
I will say no.
And yeah, Old Skies is really great. Full disclosure, I haven't got to play it yet, but I've seen at least I've seen
But yeah, and yet
yeah
you called it great, so that shows tremendous faith. Thank you.
yeah like I mean for everything I've seen, I've tested like some of it and I've watched like a whole bunch of it like and for everything I see, it's definitely I'm going to play it as soon as I get time when I'm not finishing my own game. And but I have played like
Hmm.
yeah, so it's
Yeah, I know. I know the feeling. It's like there's so many other point and click games I'd love to play right now. I'd love to play Prim Locomotive. I want to play Rosewater. It's just I can't even look at another point and click or traditional point and click right now without my brain just spasming. So eventually I'll come off the dopamine high from launch, and I will be able to play one of those games because I really want to play them.
yeah, totally. I heard lots of good things about Rosewater as well. But yeah, it's like I could see you really. I saw that one post where you said, please, I think it was on Twitter. Please, everybody, share as much as you possibly can about Old Sky, so I don't feel like I'm. So I can take like a few seconds away or some hours away from my computer because I feel like I'm failing my company. I totally get that feeling of yeah. That's
Well, it's just like when you first launch something. I mean, there's always the um, all you can do without like a real marketing budget or marketing person or marketing staff or whatever. All you can do is boost and maintain the signal. As long as people are talking about it, you can promote that. You can, you know, repost them, signal boost them, or whatever. Um, and you can't create that from nothing. If you don't have that to start with, it's very hard to just magically create it. Unless you spend money on advertising and stuff like that. And so you feel that like, oh no, what if someone says something and I'm not there to boost the signal? You think like, there's that it's hard to turn away. It's hard to pull away, as I'm sure you know, because you've released the game as well. And there was that one day where my wife she took a day off her work and she's like, It's a beautiful day. We're going on a hike, and leave your phone." And so we did. And of course, that was the day the Yahtzee, fully emblematic review dropped. So I completely missed that, which is maybe for the best. It turned out it was very positive, but if I had known that it was out there, I would have freaked out about it until I saw it. So,
yeah, definitely get that, especially within the first day, 3 days, week. Yeah, so it's been about a week and a half. I was uh,
it's been exactly 2 weeks,
2 weeks. Oh, there, yeah.
2 Wednesdays ago. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on surviving that partially sleepless process.
Yeah. It's if anything, it makes me sleep more. Just makes me very tired.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's good to hear. I see. I guess that's what obviously I'm very curious to pick your brain about various of these topics. Probably I'm going to be releasing sometime in the near future. So I see that
Mm.
it's done like a lot of reviews. Like I think you said it's Old Skies has more reviews at the current like stage than like historically. It's doing better than expected.
Steam reviews. I'm not sure. There's no way to really check it,
Yeah.
but the number seems to have ticked up very quickly compared to our previous games. Like right now, I think it's very close to 350 last I checked, which I don't think that's happened in 2 weeks of launch. I'm not sure. Um, and to get to 500, I don't because if you hit 500, you can you tick over to the overwhelmingly positive ranking, assuming it's overwhelmingly positive. And but before that, it's very positive, and before that, it's just positive. So right now it's in very positive land, and that's exciting. But I would love to get that overwhelmingly positive by the end of the game's first month. That would be like a shot in the dark. That's never happened before. So that would be cool if that happened. But it's interesting because the game market has never been more crowded or more competitive. And the week I launched was kind of now become a poster child for wow, that was a crowded week because there was like suddenly everyone was like, yeah, like obscure, Claire Obscure came out, the Oblivion Shadow Drop came out, Beholder 300 line, Redneck Dinosaur Mansion, and World of Goo 2, the sequel to like the biggest indie darling ever, and Old Skies and My Little Thing, and there were some others that came out as well. Um, I'm blanking on the name of. They're all really, really good. All these games are really, really good. So the fact that we're doing so well in spite of all that is I consider a good thing. We're still doing. It's the game is still doing pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely yeah, something I was interested in because I read there's like 14,000 games came out on Steam last year. Obviously, that was a record, and I think this year it's probably gonna break that. So it's good to hear that you can still, uh, it's still doing well despite that massive explosion of games coming out, and particularly that week. Yeah, let me just look at this. Yeah, so I guess like I had a list of questions. I guess you kind of covered what it's like releasing an indie game in 2025. What was the most frustrating part of it? That process. I don't know if you wanna.
All right. Well, I mean, the thing is that for me, it's different than it would be for some others because I people ask, "Oh, how do you sell a game now? How do you market and sell a game?" And my knowledge is like, well, I've been doing this for so long that like I have a reputation and following that's been building for like almost 20 years. So whenever I do any kind of make any kind of move in terms of marketing or promotion, I do it with that in mind. And that does make things a little easier for me. I mean, I still had to do all that work to get to this point, which ain't nothing, but I wouldn't know like what a new developer would have to go through now. I will say the most stressful part of it was just that I mean that's also a part of it. Yeah, cuz you feel like there is so much competition and you just wonder like despite that reputation and following that I've built up over 20 years, it just doesn't feel. It still feels like nothing. Like I make a post or I do a promotion and like I get no response or I get a very, just not a very strong response, and I feel like I'm just screaming into the void. And any developer will tell you this. You just it feels like it feels like you're doing a dog and pony show to space, um song and dance routine to the void. That's what it feels like, and so you just wonder like, okay, I think the game is good. Will people even notice it exists? Will they even see it? And especially when there's so many other games out there with bigger budgets and bigger teams and better marketing than mine. So that's always the fear, leading up to launch. But the game did okay. I would love to like say it's our bestseller. It broke all records. It didn't do that, but it's a close second. And that's not a bad place to be. Second place is not a bad place to be because Unavowed was such an outlier. It did so incredibly well, and that was another thing that was hard. Is that pressure to kind of meet or exceed my previous work was like very paralyzing, and I that's one thing I had to work to let go. And so, being second place to Unavowed, not a bad place to be, of considering how big our catalog is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 20 years. I mean, I think the average small business in the U.S. survives. Most of them fail after 5 years. So congratulations
Oh
on
God,
quadrupling the.
even just people in the industry in general, it barely lasts a decade, and I'm kind of amazed I've made it work for so long. Kind of a stubborn refusal to do anything else. But thank you. Yeah, no one's more surprised or more grateful than I am.
Yeah. And I definitely get that. All of that's extremely relatable, and especially the trying to meet and exceed the previous success. I was just watching some of the. You're like speaking about some of the process while watching a live stream of someone else play. Old Skies. You're talking about how like you kind of started it in 2020, and this game's development took a little bit. Was a 5 year process, which is longer than some of the previous games.
Oh, was that Cressup's live stream that you were watching?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because that, yeah, we were on that together yesterday. Yeah, I started it in the beginning of 2020, which is not a good year to start anything, and yeah, it was a terrible year basically. It was very hard to focus, and I ended up not being happy with what I made, and I ended up burning it to the ground and starting over, and it was the best thing I could have done because I was able to find kind of the magic ingredient of what the game really needed, and I was able to make something I'm actually very very happy with. So I'm glad I did that, even though it added a huge chunk of time to production, which it was annoying. I wish it didn't take this long, but it did.
Yeah. Well, I talked to I think James 6 months or so ago, and we both I said James, whichever of us we're in the decade long dev cycle club, in a techno Babylon 2, and I started mine in 2017 technically, so it's been 8 years, so don't feel too bad.
Mm.
um, but yeah, it's definitely like a yeah, it can be 20.
It didn't take a decade. It took maybe 4 or 5 years, depending on when you count it. If you count from when I first started the original one in 2020, or when I rebooted the project in like mid 2021. So it could be 5 years or 4.5 years, depending how you look at it,
Um, yeah, I
or
guess
3.5 years rather.
yeah, totally. I guess technically I did do some side projects and lots of other stuff in between, so it's maybe
Oh, same. Yeah. We published Strangeland and Hobbs Barrow, and I worked on Nighthawks. So I wasn't entirely laser focused on this one project. I think it would have driven me crazy if I had done that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally get that too. What so when you just on the on Old Skies itself, what made you decide on the time travel theme? Uh, how did
Okay, it's a weird story because it started off as a jam game. Are you familiar with that
yeah,
story?
game jam? Oh, maybe a little bit. I think I heard about that. Yeah.
Well, it was in 2019. I was still like little under a year after Unavowed came out, and I was kind of trying to again. I was feeling that tremendous pressure to like, you know, do better, top my previous work, and I it was actually Sally who recommended that I enter the Adventure Game Jam and enter anonymously. And since we were working on Technobabylon 2 at the time, and I was familiar with some of the 3D tools, I decided to try making something in 3D. And I downloaded a city pack. I was using like free or very inexpensive assets from the Unity asset store. So I downloaded this city pack where I built this little city, and then I downloaded some characters, and I had this woman who was wearing this futuristic kind of outfit, some kind of weird like spacesuit. And I was walking her around this modern city, thinking, maybe maybe she's a time traveler or something. And then I'm like, well, why don't I need an idea, so why don't I just go with that? She's a time traveler. Bam. And I named her Fia because begins with F and she's from the future. I don't know. I
Makes
had
sense.
2 weeks to make a jam game, and so I put that together, and Sally voiced the character, and I had a lot of fun making it. Like it was very rough hewn. I mean, it took me five. It takes you 5 minutes to play. It's on Game Jolt. If you look up Old Skies on Game Jolt, it's there under the name Solomon Gillerny. That was my pseudonym because King David, King Solomon, and you know Gilbert, Gil Ernie, Bert and Ernie. Anyway,
Very
I
fun.
thought it was hysterical. Thank you. So that's still there on Game Jolt if you want to see, the early proto Old Skies. But I had so much fun making it. I wanted to keep going, and I decided to turn it into a full game. and eventually gave up on 3D because it was not terribly fun and it was a lot more complicated than we thought. And we switched back to 2D, and we made the game 5 years later. So here we are.
Yeah, and I guess yeah. So one of them was you started it in Unity 3D, and then one thing that I had was on one of the questions was that related to that is the 2D style. It is 2D, the completed version, but
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely like higher resolution than the pixel art, or 640, I think, games that you were making.
Yeah. I think Unavowed was 640 by 360. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah. So what like prompted, or I guess like when you were making a decision, because I guess well Ben Chandler, right, would have to. Did he kind of push that, or did you kind of
He
suggest
pushed
that?
it. He wanted to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because at first I was gonna. I said, "Oh, let's go up a resolution," and I think I forget what the resolution we were gonna do was. I think whatever Rosewater was at, that's what I thought we would do. And Ben is like, "No, let's go one resolution higher," because he was working in. He was doing 4K stuff for Nighthawks, so he was used to doing like bigger things. Admittedly, he didn't have to animate it,
Mm-hmm.
so but he figured out a good workflow for it, and I kind of like the way it looks. I don't know if we'll keep doing that. The one disadvantage is that it takes a lot longer, but because it took him longer, I gave myself some leeway to spend longer on the design, so it kind of worked out that way. But I think we might go back to the unavowed resolution for what we do next because I think Ben is more comfortable with that. I think he's more comfortable in that resolution. He can do more things in a shorter amount of time, and it doesn't kill AGS to do it. So we're probably going to go back.
Yeah, I guess that's something else I was gonna ask, because I think the current game, the New Food sequel, is like it's actually the same resolution, but it's a larger into this total space. So that's something I was interested, because I saw that I think 4 gigabytes was quoted. I think you said for the total.
4 gigs. Yep.
What were
Full
some of
disguise
the
is 4 gigs.
yeah? So running AGS at that size, like what were some of the, I don't know, just like things you had to deal with, issues that came up?
Interesting. Well, there was the thing is, it's like when AGS was first written, and there's a lot of stuff about the engine that, again, I'm not too familiar with the technical aspects, but there's a lot of stuff about the engine that handles memory very inefficiently. It does not, it slows down in places you wouldn't expect it to slow down. But in most cases, you would never notice because most games have smaller resolutions. Like I don't think, I mean, back in 1999 when the engine was first made, it's like who would need to go over 240 pixel width? That would never happen. And so a lot of the inefficiencies with the way it handled animations and memory and stuff like that, it was never an issue because everything was all the assets were really, really tiny. And then here comes, this idiot who decides to, well, me and Ben, we decide to like, triple that. And so any problem that no one had ever noticed, no one never was a problem for anyone before, suddenly we're encountering all of them. Things like I'm playing full screen animations at that resolution. It would just choke, or get out of memory issues or whatever. The save files were gargantuan, that had to be compressed and stuff like that. Um, so a lot of the time I would run into a problem and I would bring it before the AGS team, the dev team, and they would look at the source code of AGS and be like, that is a very weird way to have coded this. This was a very dumb way to have coded this back then, but it was never an issue before. It was never caught because no one had ever done a game this size before. So I put AGS through its paces. And I'd like to think that it has emerged better for it. So you're welcome, AGS.
Yeah, I would like to personally thank you as well, because some of those upgrades helped my game out, because mine was at 13 something. So I saw that they made a bunch of changes that allowed for larger sprite sizes, larger
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds, and I was like, so
Pre-caching was a game changer as well. That's really cool as well.
yeah,
That's helped a lot because yeah, there were some animations that for some when they were loaded in would just stutter, and but then you could pre-cache them
Hmm.
before you enter the room, and then it just plays great.
Yeah, definitely noticed that. And so one of them, yeah, one of the things I want to ask you was about that. There's one particular scene that's very much it's part of uh, the front cover marketing where the time travel scene. Um, uh,
Oh, the she's kind of floating down,
yeah, floating
like
down.
it's the kind of like, oh, that's actually a video.
Oh, that's okay.
It's playing a video. Yeah, that's why it's so smooth. We couldn't. That would be. I mean, playing. That would be over like a couple of hundred frames at full screen at that resolution. Like that would just not be possible. Yeah,
Hmm.
we didn't even try.
Oh, I see. It's a video. That's I was wondering. I was like, how amazing stuff if you
Yeah.
could get to work. Anyways, but yeah, oh, one other on another topic, related to the writing, well, one of them was, does it all get written out? Does the story completely get written and then you start the game process? I'm guessing you kind of write and then you produce some of the game, and then, or how is it more organic, or is it more just kind of like I gotta get the whole story done?
Well, with this kind of game, I had a design. This is actually the first time I actually adhered to an early design. Usually, the design is kind of set on fire by the midway point. Um, but since the game is kind of episodic, meaning there's like different chapters. Each one is very standalone. Each one goes to a different period of history, that kind of thing. Um, I kind of designed. Uh, at first, I just sort of came up with like some quick and dirty ideas. Okay, you go to this time period, do this thing. Here's the complication. Here's maybe how it gets resolved. That fun? All right, let's do another one. Let's write another, do another quick one. And then I had a bunch of them, and I picked the ones I liked, and then I decided to then I just would make them one at a time. So I would extrapolate, like I would say, okay, this 1920s mission, this Prohibition era caper type thing. Um, Here's my like 2 paragraph synopsis of how this will go. Now I'm going to sit down, expand it, and then I will make it. Then I will actually start programming and prototyping it and see if it's fun. Because I like to see if something is fun and enjoyable and sort of iron out any major problems before I get the art and before I move on to the next bit. And since it was episodic and each section was very standalone, I could do that. If it was just like one big game, I don't know if you've played Hobbs Barrow, but everything is very, very connected. That would be very hard to um, you know, implement. Oh, we have a friend, we have a guest. My daughter decided to come say hi.
Oh,
I don't know if you can hear her. Yeah, the mic's right here. Want to say hi?
Hi.
hey,
Yeah.
very nice.
um. Anyway, yes. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah.
Hobbs Barrel.
Yeah. It's So you kind of need to have the majority of it designed before you can start putting it together, because everything is very interconnected. It's like it's one big knot that you have to unravel. And so I don't work that way. I'm not that kind of designer. So I will design like each complete bit, then I will prototype it, throw placeholder graphics into the game, put some cheap dialogue in, make sure it works, and then I will, if I personally like it, I'll make it a little bit better, make the dialogue a little bit better so people can understand what's going on. Then I'll put it in front of a few testers. The testers I know who can like see past all the jank and placeholder art and everything, and if they like it, then that gives me the confidence to move forward. Then I'll say, okay, Ben, here's the art now. Here's the art asset list. You can start making those. I'll start, like writing real dialogue, and even with the placeholder stage, I can put it in front of testers and that kind of thing. So at each stage, I get like a foundation of I don't know what you'd call it, like a foundation of confidence. Like, all right, I know it's good. Like, I make this thing. Is it good? Let's test it and see if people like it. Okay, they do. Now I'll do the next thing, and the next thing, and then once I do all that for one chapter, I start over with the next one. And I think how that helps me work is that I have that steady like kind of dopamine hit of finishing a thing, finishing a full thing, and getting the feedback. because I think it's very easy as an indie to isolate yourself, and having that feedback and back and forth with the testers is like makes it gives me joy. It gives me pleasure. It makes me feel good to know that other people are playing it and I can interact with them. And I need that. Like I need that. Without that, I will just go crazy because it's very isolating, and you can't. You know, you need to you need to have a support network when you do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely feel that. I feel like I need to probably take some cues from you on that one. I'm trying to figure out how to work
Didn't mean to
more.
make you feel bad. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't know you if you do it.
Oh no,
Do it
no,
another way.
no, no, it's totally
Everyone
fine.
works different. I'll just say this is how it works for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah.
people like they design it and they have like utter confidence in what they've made,
Mhm.
and it's brilliant. Like they just have their total confidence right away. I am very jealous of those people. I am not like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. There's definitely so many different ways to design games. I think people definitely and they come out differently. You know, that's what part of what makes the games different. I think that's part of the things. One of the things that helps to keep the indie apocalypse from ever actually arriving, and the adventure game apocalypse as well, because there's so many different like I was watching some, like, yeah, as I'm kind of research, like what is the best way to put the games out in 2025, what is the pitfalls, what should you do. And it's like one of the things is like if you make a game like there's many games coming out, but like if you make games that are for like a certain, maybe not every single person is going to play those games. Like there's a, you know, there's games that are like, I saw a game that was like, this is a game about surviving retail hell, you know, and it's like there might not be exactly that kind of game, you know, or like, but you know, it's, so somebody might want that, but it doesn't exist yet. You're never going to compete with a
Mhm.
AAA, but you can always make like the best possible like Wadjet Eye game. Or I like to try. So I for a little bit I was gravitating towards what is most marketable, and later on I kind of changed it. It's like maybe it's best to make the best possible Silver Spook game, because you're never going to outbeat Cyberpunk 2077. You know. um,
No, and also it's like their AAA companies spend millions of dollars and have whole teams dedicated to trying to figure out what's the most marketable thing, and even they get it wrong a lot. So I don't have a prayer. So I don't even try. I just kind of make I try to make myself happy first and foremost, and my tastes are pretty broad. You know, uh, if something is popular, I generally like it too. My tastes aren't that unique or like a niche or hipster or whatever. So like usually my instincts are more right than wrong. Uh, we shall see. Knock on wood that continues. Uh, so yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
if you're not making yourself happy, basically, then why do this in the first place? Like, there's easier ways to earn money. There's easier ways to earn a living.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that. You know, I think you said after you finish the game, like when you look back at it, while you're making it, it feels like sometimes I have that feeling sometimes. Like I think you said something like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna break me." Sometimes I feel like there's that Michelangelo. It was the painting of the Sistine Chapel. It's like, I am a wretch. My body is broken. This will never be finished. This is the worst work I've ever created. But you know, it's the Sistine Chapel. It's kind of like,
Considering he had to I mean, that I don't. His body is probably broken for other reasons painting that thing.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think you kind of said like how like it's kind of you kind of go back and you edit the memories of like the process of it. I don't know if you want to talk about that
Yeah.
experience.
Well, I mean, what's funny is that um, like I always think of like every previous project. Like I look back at Blackwell, for example, and I think, oh, it was so easy. Those games were there was just everything just flowed. Ideas just came naturally. The games took maybe a year and a half, 2 years tops to make. Excuse me, I keep hiccuping. And then one day I was looking through my old design notebooks, and I used to keep everything in handwritten notebooks, and I found one of the Blackwell notebooks where I was jotting down ideas, and in the middle of it I found this like 2-page screed of self-hatred. Like, I hate this. I can't do this anymore. I can't stand these characters. Everyone's going to hate this game, blah, blah, blah. And it was just this like rant. And I don't remember writing it. I don't remember thinking that, but obviously I did. And it was right there. I wrote it down. But just when after the project's over, you can kind of mentally edit out uh, all the really bad parts of it, and you're just left with warm, happy feelings. Um, and that happens all the time, even now. Like I'm thinking back to Old Skies, and I was like, yeah, it took a long time, but it flowed, right? Like there was always forward momentum. There was never a moment when I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing next. Like yeah, it was pretty smooth. No, it was not. Like you ask Ben or anyone, like a year ago I was like shaking and angry all the just like trying to cobble this monster together. But now I'm just like, it wasn't so bad. It's very easy to think that.
Yeah, it definitely has its ups and downs. The game dev process. Uh, one other thing I would ask, like I know we talked a little bit about the time travel, but what was it like working in a sci-fi genre? Because I mean, a lot of the games you've made are like more like paranormal, urban fantasy, or
Urban fantasy, yeah.
right. So like, how was this like a sci-fi? Because I know like Techno Babylon, obviously, but that was kind of James Dearden's baby. But
Yeah,
how?
I didn't write that one.
Yeah, for writing in sci-fi, how was that different to your other work?
Well, I mean, with every game, most of the games that I've written, they're usually very grounded anyway. It's always like the real world, usually, modern day New York plus something. Like in Blackwell, it was, the modern world plus ghosts. And on Avowed, it was the modern world plus like these, little supernatural powers that kind of made you special. And it's like it added a little something unique to, exploring these environments and these worlds. And so Old Skies is the same thing. It's the real world plus time travel. Because most of everything else is pretty grounded, but time travel exists. So it just provided a interesting approach to telling stories and solving puzzles and creating puzzles and that kind of thing. So it wasn't like sci-fi was particularly hard. I actually found it really fun because the difference between doing sci-fi versus fantasy, because in fantasy it's really hard to put a limit on the rules because it's magic. That can be anything. But with Old Sky, it's like here's how time travel works. Here are the rules. Here are the limitations, and I can't, really, I can't fudge them very, very far. So I had to work within those constraints, and that actually was really interesting. It's just kind of what I came up with within those constraints was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one of the differences between the sci-fi and fantasy or things with magic. Yeah, magic can do anything. Have you considered switch? I know you kind of talked a little bit about switching to Unity for at least a little bit, and then you kind of switch back. Have you, other than that, have you considered switching engines? Obviously, you're still sticking with AGS, but what are your thoughts on
I
switching?
mean, there's a reason why we went back to AGS, and that's because um, Unity sent me screaming. I just couldn't figure it out. Like it's the thing about Adventure Game Studio, and it's old and clunky in places, but it's really not that much younger than Unity, and older than Unity in the grand scheme of things. AGS was the first build of AGS was 1999. The first build of Unity I think was 2005, 2006. So, and it's what, 2015. So it's not that much older, really. But I think what I love about Adventure Game Studio is that it's created to make exactly this kind of game. That's what it's designed to do, and so that's very powerful. Like it knows what you're trying to make, and you can make it more complex and you can do a lot of things with it, but at the bare bones of it, it knows what you're trying to make. With Unity, it doesn't know what you're trying to make. You could literally make anything in Unity, and so it's not only do you have to keep track of everything, it requires a lot more organization than I'm used to, and also just I found that since AGS does is designed for one specific thing, the support is a lot more targeted. Whenever I had a problem with Unity, like it was very hard to get help because there's 100 reasons why this XYZ could have happened. Rather with AGS, since it could do a limited number of things, well, not limited, but there's, it's designed to do this one specific thing. There are only a handful of reasons why something would go wrong. And so, whenever I needed tech support or went onto the help forums or whatever, I was able to get help a lot faster. But whenever I ran into a problem with Unity, I could never get help. It just, and it is, a lot of the tutorials and everything assumed a base level knowledge of Unity than I had. And so I had to learn so much new stuff that I couldn't stay in my brain. And if I did want to switch to Unity or go 3D or something else, I would probably have to hire someone who knew it in order to take full advantage of it, because I don't think I could, because it was just way too frustrating, way too beyond me. AGS, I just know it. I've been using it since 2001. I just know the thing. And I know the community. I know what it can do. I know its quirks. I know its, limitations. I can work around its issues. And a lot of those issues are being worked on. The latest version apparently is wonderful. I have yet to try it. AGS 4.0 is supposed to be really good. But yeah, I stick with it because I know it. And I can you either want to you could spend time learning things or you could spend time making things. And after I had spent like a year trying to make something in Unity and not getting there, I was still learning how to use it. I do run a business at the end of the day. I had to start making something, even though it did end up taking me like 4 or 5 years. It would have taken me so much longer if I had stuck with Unity.
Yeah, definitely feel that. Yeah, and full disclosure, actually, I started Neophyte as a Shadowrun Returns mod, and then it became a Unity game, and then
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! I could see it. I could sort of see it.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it's kind of like there's I was playing that game and it was like very 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 fancy, very rich elves, and then it kind of was like maybe I should make this into an entire game and expand it into Unity, and I was like, this is powerful, but I don't have time for, just like what you said, I don't have time to learn all of this. So AGS, and then I played Technobabble and Primordia, and I said there's like 3 guys working on Primordia and Technobabble, a handful of guys. I was like, if I work really hard at one, I could do all of this. It'd take me a while, but this AGS thing seems really like straightforward. So that's actually why.
I mean, it's it could do the basics very easily. You can make it more complex if you want to,
Yeah.
but it can do the basic, the basic things that you need for an adventure game to work. It does right out of the box. Like you don't have to, it just does it. It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and speaking of the bit, one thing I on my list, I was like, I definitely got to get to that is because you've been developing for almost 2 decades or around 2 decades, and I was just we're both
19. It'll be 19 years in June.
19 years in June.
So 1 year shy of 20. 1 year shy of 20. It's wild.
All right. Well, we'll have to have a big. I'll sure you have a big 20 years party.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, but like I guess because we're both developers. And it is like that. It is like your not necessarily just mom and pop, because there's a few other people, but it's like the indie game you make, because a lot of people make indie games like as a one-off, as a college class. You make a game, but your game, you're like a small business, and like you pay your bills with the games you release. And you also, obviously you have a kid. We have full evidence of that. It's undeniable. What is the process of like being a parent, trying to run this as a business? Like I just kind of you want to make the games you want to make. You want to have fun, but also it's also can be stressful. And I don't know if you just want to speak to that.
Sure. I mean, it can't help but change your priorities. It's it used to be, me and my wife worked together, and that was nice. But like, we made, we did really well, for 2 people living quite, frugally, or even not frugally. Like we were comfortable, And then, things started to really take off, and we decided to have a family, and of course that suddenly the pressure was on. It's like it wasn't that, oh, we've done well, now that's a bonus. Now it's like we have to always do well. That has to be maintained, and that is it's a lot of pressure, But at the same time, I do love it. I've been exceedingly lucky, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, my wife and I can't like work together anymore. Like she had to get, she has her own job now to bring in a second income. So that is good for the family. That's really good. But yeah, it's the thing that I sort of put myself in this position where I can do this one thing really well, but nothing else. I don't know what else I could do at this point. So it's like my fear is that this will, somehow this business model will not work anymore, and then I will have to. It'll mean a drastic change in my life and my family's life as we figure out, like, okay, what do we do now? And that's always the stress of the main worry I have is that I'll have to stop because I love doing it. I just love doing this. I can't envision doing anything else with my career. I just love it, and so I do everything I can to make it work within reason. Um, when I started, it was kind of just a lot of stubbornness, but it was just me. It was just me who had to suffer from that stubbornness. Like I wouldn't sleep. I would work at weird hours. I would, go to like these 24-hour cafes at like 2 in the morning. Working on Blackwell Legacy next to like two sleeping homeless guys. That was fun. But I'm not even kidding. Like that, this did happen. But you can't live like that forever. That you can't sustain that kind of lifestyle, as cool and bohemian as it might have been. So now, like, I try to have like a bit more of a work-life balance, even though that line is very, very blurred when your your work is a lot. You put a lot of your life into your work, so that line is very blurred. And um, I do try to maintain that, although it's very, very hard. Um, so yeah, it's just sort of I kind of drifted off into the weeds there, but yeah, it's a challenge, but we've made it work so far.
Yeah. Just I mean, it's kudos to you. Good job handling that because 20, as I said, 20 years is a long time in for any small business, let alone the indie game business.
I've been extremely lucky.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that like the dice just rolled the right way, and I was able to take advantage of the luck when it happened, opportunities when they came. But there's like I know there's it could have easily gone the other direction so many times, and I'm just very grateful that I'm still able to do this and support myself and my family on it all this time. It's I'm more grateful than I can say.
Yeah. Uh. Yeah. What made you decide to Actually, wait. No, I already asked. We already talked about Pixar versus comic book style. What social media sites or other sites do you use the most? I think you talked a little bit about that, like how we're kind of just screaming in the void here. But
Yeah.
what sites do
I
you
think
use?
moving to Blue Sky was probably the smartest thing I could do because Twitter is I don't know if it's dead exactly, but it's not. It's been imploding for a long time, even before a certain person took it over and renamed it. It was starting to implode. Like it was, and I think like putting all of my putting doing all my marketing just from Twitter, I knew for years was a bad idea because if something happened to it, I would be stuck. Um, and so I started to pull away from it, and I started doing most of my promotion on Blue Sky, which honestly is 100 times better. Um, Twitter just is not what it was. It's been demolished from the inside. I mean, I hate to say it really just has been. And it's just I don't know. I still do promotion there because I figure like just in case there's a lot of people still there who haven't made the move over, so I figure I'd do promotion there. But the traction I get there is nothing compared to Blue Sky. Like Blue Sky is just much better. So, but again, I don't want to do all my marketing from one place. So I've been trying to I've been tiptoeing into Reddit. I haven't used it much. I've tried doing I started up a mailing list again, which I haven't really used because mailing lists are a lot of work, typing up all that. Um, I've been trying to post more to Steam, try to leverage that community. I've got a Discord channel. I use that a lot. And just I'm trying to like engage with other platforms and other ways of getting the word out. I haven't done that as strongly or as well as I could have, or I could be. I tried doing TikTok for a while. That was not fun at all, and I gave up. But I think I've been trying. I realize it's important to try to like not rely on one platform for all your marketing, because if something happens to it, then you're stuck. So I do think that like getting off of Twitter was, or not just getting off of Twitter, but like branching out beyond Twitter was probably my smartest move, even though I haven't made like massive headway in those other platforms, but like I still enjoy it. Like I like posting on Blue Sky and like Blue Sky is basically what Twitter used to be. I enjoy it. Like I actually enjoy engaging with the fans that way. Some people love engaging with the fans using TikTok or other ways. But Twitter is Blue Sky and Twitter is my vice of choice, so I stick with it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Having many sites because it's hard to tell who and what exactly will take over what site when, and it could change at any time. Anything could become what's the word? Try not to swear, but NSHIT if I happens to.
Can I say it? I'll say it. Enshittification. It happens a
Okay.
lot. Yes. It's when a service that is like incredibly useful, almost vital, they decide they need to earn more money and they start adding features that nobody asked for except the shareholders and makes it so much worse. That's what happened to Twitter. But that was there's I don't need to get into that.
Yeah, everybody has encountered some of that. Um, what is the? I just had a word. Oh yeah, that's what it is. I noticed in the Old Skies, the trailer actually features many deaths, much fatality, dying a lot is a whole central
Mhm.
theme, or like it's like I think you describe it as one of the central gameplay mechanics. So, what
Mhm.
made you
It's a
decide
mechanic.
on that dying or repeatedly dying to figure out the solution to problems?
Okay, well, there was one scene in the game where you have to help two people through a jewelry heist. The original history, they die while robbing a jewelry store, and you have to help them complete the heist and get away. Um, but because they died in the original history, um, excuse me, I felt that there needed to be an element of peril. You needed to like be able to like screw up and die, because otherwise, what would be, it would lose all its teeth. There wouldn't be anything at stake. um and in Unavowed and other games I've done, you can die, but it's like, you know flash to white, it reloads and it's like it never happened. And I felt that was very inelegant. And so I wanted to kind of, I always feel you have to use the gimmick. If you have like a certain mechanic in your game, you need to use it, right? And so Old Skies is about time travel, so you got to use time travel. And so I thought, well, like I thought, okay, let's say like you're looking at a newspaper article that talks about the heist, and as you do things, it changes and it says you died, so then you got to change it. I'm like, that's not fun, because like again, like it's like there needs to be something at stake. And I thought, well, what if you can die, but then you get rewound by like 30 seconds or a few minutes or so, and then you can try again, like, but with knowledge of everything that happened, kind of like Prince of Persia style. And um and so I thought, I played around with that. How you do something or say the wrong thing, you get shot, rewinds, and you can start again, but you have the knowledge of everything that happened before, during the previous loop. And so that ended up being a lot of fun, because there's no consequence to dying, and the character Fia knows that, and so she kind of gets. It's just like another. It's like, oh, the copier's broken again. Oh God, no! It's a hatchet to my skull again. That kind of thing. So it's just this eye rolly this very eye rolly, sighing way she deals with dying, I've never found not funny. So it just it created an interesting part of the game, which I enjoyed making.
Yeah, definitely. That looked like it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. I haven't actually got through that part in the game, but yeah, it sounds like a really fun mechanic. Yeah, when it comes to like the because one thing is it's all basically in New York, and I think you and other people have commented you the setting of New York is very you're a New Yorker, and like obviously you make games set there. But I noticed this one you can go to all these different time periods. Obviously like the 1800s. Forget all the time periods that you use, but like, what was your favorite part about that, or was a particular period in time you really wanted to explore, or what was like most exciting about?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
first of all, I just want to say I'm not a New Yorker anymore.
Oh.
I still will call myself a New Yorker, but we're in the Philly suburbs now. We moved last summer. I know that's like a big part of my brand, but here we are. But what was my favorite? I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I like different ones for different reasons. The 1920s segment was probably one of the more fun to write because I at first it was something more serious. There's this one character who was originally going to be more tragic. He was going to be like a war vet suffering from severe PTSD who was kind of like, getting in with the wrong crowd because he, didn't think he was, worth saving or whatever. Um, and instead, I made him a total, like, he's still a dumpster fire, but he's tremendously fun. He's just, I made him and his, like, it's like this prohibition couple that are just, are forces of chaos, just complete drunk forces of chaos, and they're just hysterically funny. I just eventually leaned into kind of the fun and the chaos of that era, and giving myself the freedom to do that was very free because I no longer felt constrained with needing to make it serious. It's like maybe I can have some fun with this too, and I had a lot of fun with that one. The Another one was less fun, but much more serious. There's one that took place around the 9/11 attacks, where having been lived through that myself, was an interesting and cathartic thing to revisit. Um, so that was interesting from a different perspective because that was kind of I was able to kind of take all my thoughts and feelings about that day and filter it through these characters and kind of have some nice catharsis over the whole thing. That was kind of nice. But I liked all of them. There was no particular era that I liked more than others. I liked the 1870s was fun because I was able to keep because I wanted to keep it all in New York, and that setting it so long ago meant we could have some visual things that you wouldn't normally see in one of my games, which is set in modern day New York, because back then there were actual forests and things in New York, and so you could go to a forest, which you normally wouldn't be able to do in modern day New York, and so that was kind of interesting to be able to do, show off like parts of the city, or also parts of New York history that I found interesting. So yeah, I liked them all for the most part.
Yeah, and I guess when it comes to the
Maybe not the 2020 section. That era sucks.
2020.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know who would go there. I don't know who would visit that era. That gotta be crazy.
yeah. um, yeah. I noticed that about the Fia character. The Fia character is very feels very 2020s. It's a very 2020s character. Um, once you start, a little bit of Doomerang out. I think just from what I gathered of her. She did the voice actress did a very good job, obviously, as always.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's my favorite part of the process. Sally has actually been involved in the process since almost the very beginning. As I said, she was part of that jam game,
Mm-hmm.
and she's been my sounding board for all things FIA for like since the start for like 4 or 5 years. We chatted a lot about the character. I don't think I've ever worked with a voice actor who put in that much work into forming a character. It was just it was a tremendous gift working with her.
Yeah, I think you said before that like that's one of your favorite parts is working with the voice actors. When you
Always.
when you do that, like I mean, this is a little bit self-interested, but like some of the process when you're actually casting, I think you mentioned like you had a lot of people, many people when you did an open casting call, so you kind of chose to do a more
Yeah.
private casting call, and like so maybe like when you do that, are you're like do you like direct like each scene like over Zoom call or like a Discord, like line by line?
Yeah. Well, with casting, when we did Nighthawks, it was an open call. And I had 4,000 individual submissions. And it was just way too much to go through. I mean, I did go through it, but my brain was like tapioca by the end of it. And when the time came to do Old Skies, I thought, well, when I did the Nighthawks audition, I had to go through so many auditions, and 90% of the people I cast were people I had already worked with in the past. So I thought, well, I've worked with so many people. I just collected all their email addresses, and I have my little mailing list of everyone I've worked with, and I went to them first. So I just welcome to team nepotism, everybody. Like you've worked with me before, so you get first dibs. Here's the auditions, and I would love you guys to audition first. And so I did the majority of the casting through my regular pool of actors, and there were some because that I needed to do a separate casting for. Like if I needed, there's a character named Hana Tanaka who is an elderly Japanese woman, and I wanted an older Asian woman or an Asian woman who could do an older sounding voice. And I didn't have anyone who fit that, in my pool of actors. I don't want to say my pool of actors. The in my the group of actors that I've worked with, and so I held a separate casting call for that, and I found an amazing actress named Judy Alice Lee, who's amazing, and so I will hold separate casting calls for roles like that. But for the most part, I decided to stick with the actors that I've already worked with in the past because it was too much work, and I am human. As it is, that is already like a few hundred people who I've worked with in the past. So I had no problem with that. They're all amazing actors. I know what they can do. So I felt that was fine.
Yeah, fourth. I was just because I'm right now. I'm going through the final stages of Neo 52. I'm casting and auditioning everybody, and I was looking at like 40, 50 emails, and at 4,000, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah,
It
yeah,
was a lot. It was a lot.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's hard to yeah, it just you can totally see why you have agents or the way you have casting directors that just do the casting. I was like, if I had a casting director to
Oh
just
yeah. Oh
listen
yeah.
to all this. Yeah, I totally see why they do that in Hollywood. But yeah, yeah. One thing I think is like let's talk a little bit about how like having the one thing you do particularly well helps to give people because for some of the reason right of like why related to doing a private casting. Like when people think of what game I'm going to go to buy and play on Steam, or maybe not play, but like add to the thousands of unplayed games in my Steam library. But what do you think about that, right? I have too many. You always kind of want to because when I think about it, like I'm like, okay, well I could just get a game that came out. Obviously, if it's in the top sellers, it's a good chance it's good. But like if I'm like I want to play like a high quality like 90s or like adventure like point and click like the good old point and click games, but like with quality of life and like really good modern amenities. I'll get a with the good voice acting and the story's gonna be tight. I'm gonna get a Wadjet Eye game, right? Or that's kind of like the brand. Like if I want a AAA MMO, I'm not gonna obviously go to Wadjet Eye. Or if I want if I want an indie.
You won't. You won't.
Well, when you put them out, I will definitely buy 10 copies for everyone in my friends list. Like,
That MMO. So much for that MMO that we're gonna make.
that's where I draw the line. But yeah, I guess like so I guess like that's kind of like I guess what I was trying to get to was the voice acting. One thing I noticed because I mean full disclosure, I made Neophyte because I played Wadjet Eye Games, like the particularly.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
wow. Okay.
yeah. So I've said that several times. James Dearden and Marco Hallam of Primordia. Well, there are two games in particular because my bread and butter is more like cyberpunk, science fiction, speculative fiction, dystopian fiction.
Really, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that is a total shock.
So yeah, it's kind of like their games.
Joking.
Yeah. I mean, I love Blackwell as well. It's just that's how I have my
It's
best.
your wheelhouse, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's my wheelhouse, and so that's why me and James talk too long. If I end up talking to him, just like 6 hours of every single Ghost in the Shell Deus Ex.
Was this James Dearden or James Spanos?
James Dearden. I have talked to James Spanos as well, but James Dearden, both of our favorite games, we'll just say Deus Ex references forever to each other, which is that MXMX character in your game is another. I saw it's another reference to one of our favorite cyberpunk games. But anyway, Mix, yeah.
Well, I think Ben referred to Mix as NB Resonance.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was.
As a reference to, I think it was what was her name in Deus Ex?
NG Resonance.
NG Resonance. So we wanted the non-binary hologram. So NB Resonance. But instead we called them Mix instead, which that's never stopped being amusing. NBs can have dad jokes too, so that's the lesson.
Yeah. It's like it was really when I saw that I remember it was like you were asking for names right for that character or ideas.
That Ben just came up with that.
Oh, Ben came. Oh, okay,
as far as I remember.
Okay, maybe
he just sort of just like. At first, the character was NB Resonance, but then when we realized we can't call the bartender that, he just said, "What about Mix?" I'm like, "That's really funny. That's the bartender's name." Yes.
Yeah. No, I definitely get both of those jokes, but yeah, I guess what I was trying to say was that the Techno Babylon and the Primordia and also the Blackwell series, also Resonance the game, and Gemini Root. I played all. I think I played all four of those like basically back to back, and but one thing I really recognized that stood out was like the you could tell like a really I almost call it like it's almost like prestige TV, but like indie game because it's like it feels like you're watching a drama in the sense of like, I mean, when you play the games, like the games that your studio has made in particular, I mean, there's other indie game developers I would say that kind of do that, but like, it's kind of like the that's why I really wanted the voice acting. Cause I was thinking about it, like, this is gonna be a lot of voice acting to do. Some people are like, don't even bother. But I was kind of like watching or playing and thinking about the games that you have, like that really, like it really carries the interest for it a lot. Not to say that like
I don't think it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, you can go ahead.
I don't think it. Oh, okay. I would never say that the voice acting will make it will magically make like a mediocre or bad dialogue good, but it will take good dialogue and make it great. It can. I think it can more elevate the material. It's never gonna like. It's never gonna carry the material. I mean, in some cases, like I think of some characters. I think of like Ashley Birch in Horizon Zero Dawn, and what's her name, Melissa something, Melissa M something. She was Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like she took a very generic character and made her transcendentally awesome. That can happen, but usually it's like the material itself has to be good, and then a good voice actor can take that good material and just make it great. And that's what I want when I do casting, is that I want someone who can take what I've done and make it much better. If I ever say, oh, this will make more sense, this will have a lot more meaning when there's voice acting, I've written it badly. I got to rewrite it, because you can't rely on the voice acting to make it good. You have to make it good and rely on the voice acting to make it great. And so that's what I always hope for. No pressure to the voice actors, of course.
Yeah, if you don't make Dave's games great, oh my God, his entire family was off. It's your fault. No. One thing I would say is that like I find that sometimes with the voice acting, like the voice actors will bring like and interpretation, because obviously you read a line and you go, oh, obviously that character's angry, so they're shouting it, right? So some people, but like I think like really, this is just like my personal opinion, but it's like some actors will bring something to a character. I'll be like, that guy should kind of sound like, there's a character I knew, if I wanted to sound like Colonel Kilgore, the unhinged warmonger from Apocalypse Now, and they'll like take it in like a very different direction, and it's, I don't know, it's just like you say that very angry line very quietly, or make the character into like something that you didn't really expect, and then like that's one way of kind of like the voice actors elevate the material to a higher, to much more than what it was before.
Yeah,
I don't
often. I mean, again, like let me warn you, like this could be the rest of this interview could be about voice acting if you let me. And I find that the whole process just fascinating, because usually the really good voice actors, because it's like maybe not on my my little headset mic here, but often the microphone is like right in your mouth, right? It's right on your mouth. You can't hide from it, right? And so it's not necessarily about how loud you can be if you're angry. It's about how angry you can make yourself feel, and then the microphone will pick that up. And often it's like whatever internal process, every actor's got their own process of getting to that point and finding like the point of connection. Like if a character is like angry or happy or in love or scared, like they'll find a way like to like feel that. So when they say the lines, the microphone will pick that up. Because I don't necessarily want them to, believe that, if like there's a space captain role. I don't necessarily want them to believe that they're a space captain. I want the audience to believe that they're a space captain. And there is a difference. Like when you're, and I'm kind of fascinated by that, because like the microphone doesn't hide anything. And often it's not about how loud you can be. It's just like, because if I'm angry and I'm trying to hide it, like you can tell, this microphone is close to my mouth. It's going to pick it up, right? And how can you as an actor make that feel real? And I just see that process, and I'm just fascinated to death by it. When I see that internal process working, I'm just like, this is amazing. It's like magic. It just never stops being magic to me.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why I always like to direct live over Zoom.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna yet another tip, other than also episodically having more interaction, and also trying to direct more live over. I'm literally, I was just thinking that, so now this is more impetus for me to get on that. So anyways, it is now it's been about an hour, so I don't want to keep too much long. Time flies when you're talking about voice acting and time travel, I'll tell you. But you can always reverse it and watch this again in the time travel using your rewind button. Anyways, so if there's anything else you feel like we didn't cover, next projects, if you want to drop what you're working on now, well, I know you're kind of promoting still, but what's next?
Well, I mean, this Nighthawks is still in the works. No release date yet. Richard Cobbett is the developer on that. He's working on it. He is in the middle of beta testing it right now. So that is happening. That has been a long time in coming, but it's on its way. Ben is working on his own thing. He asked me if he could design and write his own game and do the art for it, and I told him yes. And so I'm going to assist him with that, but for the most part, it's his baby. So there's not much we can say about that right now. I mean, he has showed me some designs and some character models, and they look amazing. All I can say for certainty about the game is that at the very, very minimum, it's going to look fantastic because it's Ben. Anything else beyond that, we shall see. But it will look great because it's Ben. He doesn't, mess around with that stuff. And in terms of what I'm personally doing next, I don't know yet. I have a couple of developers that I'm talking to about potentially publishing their stuff. I kind of maybe left it a little too long because I was working on my own thing and just didn't have the spoons. So Um, I might have left it too long. I'm seeing if they're still interested. We'll see. If not, I'll do my own thing. So yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying the afterglow of Old Skies at the moment, and seeing, trying to like recuperate, and then when I'm ready, I'll do whatever it is that I'm doing next. And once that's established, I'll certainly announce it.
Possible, well deserved glow. 5 years of hard work. Again, like, yeah, I have not actually played through all of Old Skies, and so thank you.
It'll be there whenever you're ready.
Thank you for not spoiling it. But it's yeah, it looks amazing. I mean, definitely, it's like obviously it's the highest resolution game. It's closer to like my favorite genre of science fiction, and Wadjet Eye Games. So it's you always know these are going to be high quality. I'm not saying that because Dave paid me large quantities of money before this. Okay, I'm saying that because I have.
I mean, if journalists could be paid off that easily, no game would ever have a bad review, and all journalists would be rich. So,
Indeed.
I did not pay anyone off.
Yeah. But this is actually the second time I've interviewed Dave, and I've talked to most of the several of the other Wadjet Eye creators, and Mark. I've talked to. I ask them questions because they're more experienced. You've been in the industry for over twice as long as I have, so it's always very helpful for myself, and a pleasure as always to hear about this process. And yeah, I really hope that you keep Wadjet Eye Games goes for another 2 decades or however long you.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. That's all I really want to do. So we'll see. We'll see. I managed almost 20 years. Let's see if we can go another 20. We'll see.
There you go. So don't forget, everybody, pick up Old Skies as quickly as possible on the platforms that it's out on. I think Steam and GOG right now.
It's going to be on Switch soon. There was a bit of a problem getting it on Switch at launch, but we're getting there. Once we know when that happens, we'll announce it.
There you go. All right. Well, it's been so great to talk to you.
Same.
And yeah, I guess yeah. Anything else you want to add, or where we can follow you? My Blue Sky.
I mean, I'm on Blue Sky. Still on Twitter. I mean, I'm very online. You look me up. You type Dave Gilbert Games, you'll find me. I'm very easy. I'm out there. So.
Yeah, there's too many platforms. I just look up Silver Spook. I think it'll mostly come up and not just direct you to Silver Spoons.
Silver Spoons. Oh my God! Wow, I forgot all about that show. Jesus Christ. Wow, that blast from the past.
Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah. I should probably run, but thanks again so much for coming on. Say hi to Ben.
Thank you.
The family. Thanks.
Will do.
Thank your child for gracing this
a little
cast.
Cameo.
All right. Well, thanks so much, and hope to talk again another time.
Bye-bye.